We often live under the illusion that the answers we seek lie in distant philosophies, sacred scriptures, or some enlightened being sitting on a mountaintop. We assume that someone else holds the key to our joy, our peace, our purpose. But the truth is more intimate than we dare to believe. You are not just the seeker, you are the sought. What you are looking for is not hidden in the sky or buried in the earth. It has always been nestled quietly in the depths of your own being. There is a sacred intelligence within you, not born from books or teachings, but from pure existence itself. It doesn't speak in words, it resonates in presence. The more you chase after knowledge, the more you distance yourself from wisdom. Real answers do not arrive through accumulation, they reveal themselves through clarity. And clarity arises not from thinking more, but from being more aware. When you begin to touch this inner space, you realize the profound truth. What you're trying to find is already waiting within you to be noticed. You are not broken, you are not broken, you are not incomplete. It is only your belief that you lack something which creates the illusion of distance between you and your wholeness. You search for love because you feel unloved, for purpose because you feel lost, for peace because you are entangled. But none of these states are absent in reality. They are simply veiled by identification with what you are not. The moment you stop chasing and turn inward with honesty, you begin to uncover a presence so vast and fulfilling, it makes the outer world seem like a pale reflection. Have you ever paused to ask, who is the one asking the question? What is the nature of this me that wants something? If you look deeply, you will discover that the very presence behind the question is itself the answer. The awareness in you, the stillness that witnesses your thoughts, your emotions, your body, that is the truth you've been seeking, not something to gain, but something to remember. You are not on a path toward truth. You are simply shedding everything that is not true. This inner recognition is not an achievement, it is a realization. And this realization doesn't require rituals, formulas or journeys, it requires stillness, sincerity and courage. The world will tell you to improve yourself, but awakening is not about improvement. It's about remembering who you were before you were told to be. In that remembrance, the seeking dissolves, and the seeking dissolves with the sought, because they were never separate to begin with. We often live either in regret or anticipation, haunted by the past or anxious about the future. Rarely do we inhabit the present fully. The mind is like a pendulum, swinging from memory to imagination, but seldom resting in what is. And yet, the only space where life truly unfolds is the now. The present moment is not just a fleeting point in time, it is the eternal doorway to reality. It is the only place where truth, peace and awareness can actually be experienced. Everything we seek, whether it's clarity, joy, purpose or connection, doesn't exist in some future event or distant destination. It exists in this very moment, but only if we are available to it. When attention is anchored in the now, life becomes vivid. The colors are brighter, the sounds clearer, the breath deeper. There is no need for elaborate philosophies or techniques to find the sacred. Presence itself is sacred. And this presence is accessed not by doing more, but by simply being here, fully. The mind often tricks us by saying, once I finish this, then I'll rest, or once I understand more, I'll be happy. But this postponement is a trap. There is always another goal, another task, another question. The search never ends because the seeker is running in the wrong direction, toward time. But truth is not in time. Truth is timeless, and that means it is always found in the now. The present moment is not a step along the path, it is the path, that is the gateway to everything real. Even we return to the now, even for a few breaths, a soft power awakens in us. The body relaxes, the mind becomes quiet, and the heart feels full without reason. This is not something we achieve, it is something we recognize. The now doesn't demand anything from us, it only asks that we stop running, that we stop analyzing, stop escaping, stop dividing reality into past and future. In still presence, there is no room for fear or confusion because those are children of time. In the present, only clarity remains. This moment right now is the most precious gift we have, yet it is the most overlooked. We spend years planning for the future or reliving what has already passed, while the miracle of now slips through our fingers unnoticed. But when we pause, when we become aware, not of our thoughts about the moment, but of the moment itself, a portal opens. A doorway not to more thoughts, but to deeper being. That is where life begins to reveal its true face, untouched by time, untouched by the mind. The idea that we are incomplete has been embedded so deeply in our psyche that we live our entire lives trying to fill a void that doesn't actually exist. From a young age, we are told to become something smarter, prettier, richer, more successful. The subtle message is always the same. You are not enough as you are. This belief becomes a lens through which we see the world. And so we keep building layers, chasing identities, trying to prove our worth, all the while forgetting that wholeness is not something to be earned, it is something to be remembered. This false sense of incompleteness is the root of all longing. We look for relationships to feel loved, achievements to feel worthy, possessions to feel secure, knowledge to feel wise. But no matter how much we gather, the inner hunger continues. Why? Because the hunger is not for what the world offers, it's for the self we've forgotten. That self is not broken, not missing pieces, not waiting to be fixed. It is already intact, radiant and full. It is the mind's illusion of lack that distorts the view, like clouds covering the sun that never stopped shining. When you begin to look inward, not through judgment, but through quiet observation, you start to see that there is a presence in you that has never been touched by fear, shame or trauma. It watches without interference. It has no wounds, no needs. It is whole by its very nature. Chew. The fragmentation we experience is not in our being, it is in our identification. We confuse the temporary roles we play with who we are. But roles change, moods change, thoughts change. The one who witnesses all of it remains untouched. This inner wholeness does not need to be improved, it needs to be uncovered. Like a seed that already contains the full potential of a tree, everything you need for peace, joy, clarity and love is already encoded within you. The more you try to become something else, the more you move away from this innate intelligence. But when you stop striving, stop fixing, stop seeking, you, you begin to see that you are not a problem in need of a solution. You are a presence in need of recognition. The wholeness was never lost. It was simply buried beneath layers of conditioning. Many people are afraid that if they stop trying to improve themselves, they will become stagnant. But this fear is born from the same illusion of incompleteness. Real growth doesn't come from the idea that you are not enough. Real growth is a natural flowering of your being when it is no longer constrained by false beliefs. When you drop the story of insufficiency, something soft and powerful awakens. It is not arrogance. It is not ego. It is simply the quiet confidence of knowing that you were never lacking, only unaware of fullness. In the modern world, noise has become the background of life. Not just the sound of traffic or conversations, but the noise of constant thought, the chatter of the mind that never seems to stop. We live with an inner commentary that labels, judges, compares, and plans. In this clutter of thoughts, we seek truth about ourselves, about life, about the divine. But truth does not shout over noise. It does not compete. Truth reveals itself only in stillness. It is in the absence of mental activity, in the quiet spaces between thoughts that real knowing begins to emerge. Inner stillness is not a concept, it is an experience. It cannot be achieved by force or control. It arrives when the need to control subsides. When we stop feeding every passing thought with attention, when we stop engaging with every emotion that arises, stillness naturally begins to unfold. It's not about doing, it's about undoing. And in that state, something remarkable happens. Clarity arises without thinking. Answers emerge without questioning. This is not mystical poetry, it is direct experience available to anyone who becomes deeply present. The mind is an excellent tool but a poor master. When dominated by thought, we are pulled in many directions. We become reactive, fragmented, and anxious. But in stillness, there is no pull, only presence. In that presence, we begin to see life not as we fear it to be or wish it to be, but exactly as it is. This kind of seeing is not intellectual, it is existential. It transforms not only how we perceive the world, but also how we perceive ourselves. We begin to sense a deeper reality, one that was always there but drowned beneath mental noise. What we call truth is not just a concept or philosophy, it is a vibration, a resonance, a knowing that aligns with the very fabric of existence. And this knowing does not come through debate or analysis, it comes through still awareness. Just as muddy water clears when left undisturbed, the mind, when not agitated, begins to reflect truth effortlessly. That clarity is not something we create, it is something we uncover. It is already within us, waiting to be seen, waiting to be known. In stillness, there is a strange intelligence, an intelligence beyond logic, beyond memory. It doesn't come from the mind, it comes from presence. And when you rest in that presence even for a moment, you begin to understand things you could never grasp with thought. The questions that once tormented, that space is stillness, and in that stillness, truth reveals itself like a silent sunrise. From the moment a child takes its first conscious breath, the world begins its instruction. Look outward. We are taught to chase dreams, to seek approval, to find love, to gather wealth, to accumulate knowledge. Every institution, family, school, society, reinforces the idea that what we need is out there somewhere. So we begin a lifelong pursuit, believing that joy, peace, success and truth are hidden in distant lands, relationships, possessions or positions. Yet in this process, something vital is lost, our connection with our inner being. The tragedy of this outward pursuit is that it never truly ends. Like a mirage in the desert, the more we chase, the further it seems. We achieve one goal and the next appears. We win one person's heart and we crave another's approval. We acquire one possession and the desire for a better one is born. The chase continues and we are left breathless. Not because we've run too far, but because we've run away from ourselves. The search is never about the object, it's about the feeling we hope it will give us. But feelings, unlike objects, do not come from the outside. They arise from within. Many people spend their entire lives collecting external affirmations of worth, titles, money, relationships, even spiritual identities, yet they still feel hollow. Why? Because the root of fulfillment was never planted in the soil of the world, it always existed inside. But being misled by culture, we keep looking through the wrong window, unaware that the door was never locked. It just opened inward. This misguided search becomes a cycle of suffering, hoping, acquiring, disappointing, hoping again. This is not to say the world has no value, but its value is reflected, not generated. Just as the moon shines by borrowing the sun's light, the world reflects back what we carry within. If there is peace inside, the world feels calm. If there is joy within, everything appears vibrant. But if there is conflict and longing, even paradise feels inadequate. Yet, the modern seeker forgets this. They think the key lies in changing the outside, while remaining strangers to their own inner landscape. The misunderstanding is so subtle that most never notice it. They ask, "What should I do to be happy?" instead of asking, "What is the nature of happiness itself?" They run after more experiences, believing quantity will bring quality. But inner stillness is not a product of movement. It is discovered when movement ceases. The search outside is an echo, a distraction. The real treasure, the real source, has always been quietly sitting at the center, unmoving, unchanged, untouched by all our striving. For most people, the mind has become a tyrant rather than a tool. It dominates their inner world, dictating emotions, decisions and actions. Yet the mind was never meant to lead, it was meant to serve. Like a sharp knife in the hands of an untrained person, it cuts unnecessarily, wounds deeply and becomes dangerous. We have mistaken the activity of the mind for intelligence, and in doing so, we've allowed the servant to sit on the throne. But true intelligence does not chatter, it simply knows. The mind is a storehouse. It can only recycle what it has already absorbed from memory, from conditioning, from experience. It cannot access the unknown. It only reconfigures the known. This is why relying solely on the mind for truth is like trying to understand the sky by staring at a painted ceiling. Real understanding, real clarity does not arise from the accumulation of mental content, but from the absence of mental domination. It arises when we realize the mind is a wonderful mechanism, but it is not you. One of the greatest sources of suffering is identification with the mind. When you believe that you are your thoughts, your emotions, your mental patterns, you are tossed around by every wave. One moment you feel powerful, the next moment you feel small. One moment you love the world, the next you hate it. This roller coaster is not life, it is mind in control. But the moment you step back and observe your thoughts as passing clouds rather than permanent truths, you regain your rightful place. Not as the storm, but as the sky that holds it all. There is a quiet watcher in you, a presence that sees the mind's activity, but is untouched by it. That is the real you. The thoughts may race, emotions may stir, but the one who watches remains still. When that presence becomes dominant, the mind begins to relax. It no longer needs to perform or control. It begins to cooperate instead of command. And in this shift, life becomes more fluid, more peaceful, more real. You start responding, not reacting. You start creating, not just calculating. But for this reversal to happen, you must see the mind for what it is, a powerful tool, not the source of your being. The mind is like fire, incredibly useful when contained, destructive when left wild. When it takes its proper place beneath awareness, it becomes your ally. It helps articulate, organize and execute, but it no longer pretends to be wise. Wisdom, after all, is not a product of thought. It is the fragrance of presence. And presence begins the moment the mind is no longer your master.